Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're down in an old house, very old crawl space. They have a sump pump down here in an old tile, which doesn't work at all. And you can see all the debris, slimy mud. We've already pumped out the crawl space, but we're actually going to put the sump pump on the other side over there. It's a little bit lower, and of course we're going down 2 feet. This sump pump, this old piece thing that they have in here, it's only down about 6 inches. Probably a homeowner tried to put it in, and it probably helped, but it wasn't quite right. So since we have a flooded basement, the first thing that we're going to do is drill a bunch of holes in a bucket on the bottom and then all along the sides, so that we can dig a small hole down in the crawl space, put the bucket in there with a sump pump and a flexible hose for the discharge, so we can pump out all that water. Okay, so we're going to set up our pump, a temporary pump. This is still a check valve, but the small fitting here will allow us to use the flexible hose so we can pump out that flooded crawl space. 1.5" male threaded adapter. So when you try to find your fittings for these things, remember the sizes. I've said it so many times, you should remember that this is 1.5" female, so this is 1.5" male threaded adapter. We just screw it on there hand tight. Then we're just going to attach our flexible discharge. You just push it on there. It's got barbs, but we're still going to put we're still going to tighten it up with a clamp. This is a 5/16 inch drill bit clamp, stainless steel. It just holds it in place. Now we're ready to go ahead and set our pump down in that bucket, the little hole that Chuck's already dug. We'll set up the extension cord and we'll be able to pump out some of that water. So you can kind of see where Chuck's out there, what he's doing. He's going to rip open that plastic, and then we're going to cut a little hole down into the dirt, into the mud, and we're going to put the bucket in there. Maybe you can just pull that plastic up out of the way, pull it towards them or something. Just get it out of the way, because it's hard to dig through plastic. But we're going to put a bucket back there and put the sump pump in with a flexible discharge, just to get the water out of here so that we're able to actually work in the crawl space. So we're going to set that pump right down into the pit. Chuck's got to stay right there with it though, because he's got to keep the float on so that it can pump. Remember, the float is what actuates that pump. So now we're plugging this pump up. Should kick right on. That float should be up. I hear it kicking on. And it'll just drain this kind of slow. Let's go outside and see what it looks like out here. So we're pumping out the water of the crawl space. That thing's underwater. It's probably going to take us about a half an hour or so to be able to actually work in here. Oh, that water is receding fairly quickly though. It's coming into the pit well, Chuck. So while it's pumping out, we're going to go ahead and core. I show you the core an awful lot. This is probably the most important part of this video, of not only the video, it's probably the most important part of your crawl space install. You've got to be able to bring that water out through there. And granted, you could pull out the vent, you could knock a hole in it, and we just pulled it out to see what's going on. But it's so much nicer and cleaner to drill it with a perfect hole for that PVC to bring that water from the discharge of the pump out through the wall. So let's go ahead and get started.
If you don't have a hammer drill, you can easily rent one from your local tool rental. This core through the foundation wall is so important. Easy to do if you have the right
There
tool.
we have it. Perfect hole for our 1.5 inch PVC to go through there. This is a quite old home and this brick is really brittle, but went right through. Next thing we're going to do is set up our sump pit or sump basin. I'm going to go ahead and cut off these nipples for the footer tile. Even though we're not putting a perimeter drain, a footer tile in there, I know that this is going to need it, so we're going to go ahead and prepare it for that as well. Hacksaw, just cut the nipple off. Real quick, real easy. Next thing we're going to do is perforate the pit, just like we did that bucket, so that water can come through the gravel, which will surround the pit. Remember, gravel goes around the pit, water goes through the gravel into the pit, pump lifts it up and carries it out. So now we've got a perforated pit, and our sump pump's going to sit down in the bottom of it. As water enters through the gravel, through the holes that we've drilled into the pit, it floods into the pit. Sump pump lifts it up, carries it out, and that's why this discharge line right here is so important. When you're working in a flooded crawl space, it is no fun at all. But once you get all dirty, life gets a little easier. And what he's doing is he's putting the bucket in there. It's got the pump in it to help pump out that water. You can see how much water is down in that pit where he's digging. It makes it really hard to dig. Bucket's perforated, has holes in it, pulls that water out. Just have to let it fill up each time, and then the pump will kick on. The float comes up, or you can lift up the float and you keep pumping.
While Chuck's digging out that hole, let's take a look at some foundation issues. You can see the pier. You can see how far it's separated. This is water. It's moving that foundation. Look at the foundation wall. Same thing. Such a big crack. This is pressure on the outside pushing that water towards the wall. And you can see what kind of damage can occur if you don't solve your water problem. So we're ready to set our sump basin down into the hole. What we're doing is we're just checking to make sure that it's going to fit flush at the top. So we turn it upside down just to set it to make sure we've got a good hole. Turn it over, push it down in the hole. We're ready to install. With your sump pit installed, it's time to bring in the gravel. We're actually bringing the gravel in through the vent right above the area that we're working. We're going to pour that gravel all along the outside of the pit. Remember, the pit is perforated, so we want that water to be able to go through the gravel and then into the pit. Now we're going to go ahead and pull out that sump pump. The temporary discharge is on there. We're going to plumb it new, right up and out through the core, and we'll be done.
So we've got everything plumbed, check valve. Riser comes up, going through the wall. Our pit's full of water right now. So let's go ahead and kick this pump on. Then we'll go outside and we will finish plumbing it. Oh yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but I hear it. And it kicked it on right away, pumping it right out of here. 53. I even hear little pieces of mud and gravel being lifted up through this pipe. 1/3 of a horsepower, pumps anywhere from 40 to 60 gallons a minute. You can hear that water. That's water filling back up the pit. So we pretty much got this covered up and done in here. We just need to get our tools out, go outside, finish plumb it, and we're done. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.